if we look at our existence from this perspective that we're getting from Vedanta, right? That from Bhagavad Gita, that in a sense this world is a reflection, in a sense it is a virtual reality, in a sense it is a dream. Choose your metaphor. But if that's the case, and if we look at it through that lens, and then we say now within that, how often am I searching for another escape from this, a dream within this dream? Whether it be through a movie, or whether it be through a virtual reality, or whether it be through a video game, or fantasy, just going somewhere else in my mind. Like, how often do I search for that escape, or how much time do I actually spend in it? It's pretty crazy, and it's indicating, we keep searching outside, which is really just going to that double layer. What if we turned around and we started looking for reality? What if we said, where do I come from, rather than like, where do I wish I was?
I like that. Well, the problem is without a map.
Yeah.
It's like we're just almost like on a little boat on a vast ocean.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like directionless. And then if you really start getting into, like, you're right, I've just created a second illusion. Because thoughtful people realize, like, this world is an illusion. I've been baited constantly, and it doesn't give what it desires, and I'm only here for a moment in time, and what is the value? It's like deep thinkers almost get that Vedantic insight into the temporality of existence, but there's just nowhere to go with it, and you end up existential, and it gets real depressing real quick. So of course I want fantasy. Of course I want romance. Of course I want to feel like I want this to be magical. I want to do an acid trip. I want anything. I want to go shopping. I want some dopamine drip in my arm. I want anything to get me out of the pain of thoughtfulness. Because thoughtfulness, when not directed with a spiritual or a way to improve, it can get you really depressed.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Alachua, Florida, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. It is March 26th, Wednesday. Welcome to the show. Mara, what episode is this?
1564.
Well, Mara's Super Soul Farm holding down the fort. I am in Alachua doing the Alachua thing. What a place. Here with all the kids, hanging out with Henry last night. My daughter got a tattoo in Gainesville by Ishvari Sundari's daughter-in-law-ish. And
what was the tattoo?
She got a red eft.
A red what?
You know what a red eft is?
No idea.
Mary, you know what it is?
Well, she sent me a picture.
An eft is a type of
it's like a salamander.
Local salamander.
Oh, a salamander.
That's bright orange.
Okay.
Yeah. Kids do stuff.
Nature.
Yeah, nature. You find them in our
blue
yard.
Harmonium. It's like...
I got it. Yeah. Anyway, I hung out with Henry. We went to brought the kids to this arcade in Gainesville, which is really nice. And today, Mukunda Kishore and his family are coming. We're going to the Springs. We're having prashad.
Here's a question.
Lunch.
Do the kids ever think, Dad, are we in this arcade for you or for us? Do they ask that?
It was actually for all of us. I didn't even think Henry was going to like it, but Henry loved it. Going to stay at a couple more. I will say an arcade is really, truly entering into a second layer of Maya. We're already in Maya. I already think I'm an Italian-American New Yorker. Then you're going into this, okay, and now I'm going to battle pterodactyls, and a stegosaurus. It's like now, and I'm getting worked up. Me and Henry are double shooting this Jurassic Park video game where we're like killing, attacking pterodactyls, and we come out of this game like we've just been like post-traumatic stress syndrome. We're like, okay, I think it's gonna be okay now. Our hearts are racing, but that is what Maya is, isn't it? You're in some alternate reality, and you're getting stressed, and you feel successful, and you feel like we did it. You high five each other, and it's dreamlike. It's not even real.
Well, I do think that if we look at our existence from this perspective that we're getting from Vedanta, right, that from Bhagavad Gita, that in a sense this world is a reflection, in a sense it is a virtual reality, in a sense it is a dream. Choose your metaphor. But if that's the case, and if we look at it through that lens, and then we say now within that, how often am I searching for another escape from this, a dream within this dream? Whether it be through a movie, or whether it be through a virtual reality, or whether it be through a video game, or fantasy, just going somewhere else in my mind. Like, how often do I search for that escape, or how much time do I actually spend in it? It's pretty crazy, and it's indicating, we keep searching outside, which is really just going to that double layer. What if we turned around and we started looking for reality? What if we said, where do I come from, rather than like, where do I wish I was?
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Well, the problem is without a map.
Yeah.
It's like we're just
Hopeless.
almost like on a little boat on a vast ocean,
Yeah.
and it almost seems like directionless. And then if you really start getting into like, you're right, I've just created a second illusion, because thoughtful people realize like this world is an illusion. I've been baited constantly, and it doesn't give what it desires, and I'm only here for a moment in time, and what is the value? It's like deep thinkers almost get that Vedantic insight into the temporality of existence, but there's just nowhere to go with it, and you end up existential, and it gets real depressing real quick. So of course I want fantasy, of course I want romance, of course I want to feel like I want this to be magical, I want to do an acid trip, I want anything, I want to go shopping, I want some dopamine drip in my arm, I want anything to get me out of the pain of thoughtfulness, because thoughtfulness, when not directed with a spiritual or a way to improve, it can get you really depressed. So many people who are just thoughtful, they get depressed because like,
We're all
what's this
dying.
all about? Everyone's dying. It's all sad. Let me just watch the Titanic, and even the Titanic will get you depressed, and you fall in love, and then he dies, and
The old lady.
the old lady is depressing, and she's sad, and the
How could she
romance
just
that
go
almost
off and
was.
leave him in the water? Wasn't there room for him? All of that.
There was room.
There was.
There's room.
All right. Meanwhile, why don't we check in with Mara, see how she's doing? Back.
Mary, how you down
Under
holding down the fort there? Are you taking care of the birds?
Yeah, the birds are good.
Birds
How
are
many
good?
birds do you have to take care of?
I think it's
3 peacocks, the house chicken, 3 guinea fowl, and then maybe there's 5 chickens.
5 chickens, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
12 birds.
Yeah. I got a dozen. A dozen in my flock.
Your flock. One's indoors.
Yeah. One of the peacocks has a cast on its little foot too.
All right.
We have all the and they're all laying eggs. So we have one of these egg
Oh my God.
spiral things in the kitchen. Is there
Yeah.
people
Although
who are
they've
like,
slowed down now that it's cold again.
oh really?
Yeah,
And
it's a little slow.
people are like, well, you eat eggs? I was like, no, we don't. I was like, what are all these eggs in the kitchen? We just give them to the neighbors.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about like an egg. Eggs are very expensive right now. I was like, kidding? We're just giving eggs
Pumping
away.
them out like crazy.
We're just
Yeah.
pumping them. But what do these chickens give you? We're like, affection.
They are affectionate.
They are very.
Well, we give them affection anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, some announcements tonight in Philadelphia at the Bhakti Garden. There's a in-person and online Bhakti Recovery Group meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
That's it.
And,
And I'm at Harvard Friday.
Friday
Kaustubha's in
morning.
Harvard. We're going to put up that link for Kaustubha's class in Harvard. Looking forward to
Yep.
that.
Put that in the
And-
description.
Will do.
Yeah. And Wisdom of the Sages, again, on retreat at Super Soul Farm. Please come Memorial Day weekend. Looking forward to that. And then when we get back from a Wisdom of the Sages retreat, which is, if you didn't sign up for Italy, just write the Italy address, because WOTS Italy at gmail.com, because there may be some space, because I know they rented another hotel, but we have a big booming group for Tuscany, and it's a really special trip.
Okay.
And me and Lori Pags have a retreat at Super Soul Farm. The dates are, Miss Mara.
July 18th through 20th.
Okay. It's a yoga retreat, yoga, kirtan, satsangs. We'll do live Wisdom of the Sages. It'll be fun. It's our 3rd year in a row. Alrighty.
Let's get into
Well-
the nugget.
Let's get into the TikTok nug. It's not TikTok, right?
Not TikTok. Tick-knock.
What's his
Thich
name?
Nhat.
Tick-knocked. Tick-knocked.
Not Han.
Can you read it today? I can't find my thing.
Okay, no problem. If Mayor's not there, I can pick up the
When
slack.
Mara's not here, my world just crumbles.
Okay. It's a simple one. It's a short one.
Okay.
But it's a profound one. The seed you water is the seed that will grow. Play with that, Raghunath. Think on that
the
one.
seed.
That you water is the seed that will grow. And I believe that this is being shared in relation to our inner world, the world of our thoughts. Right?
You put it to anything, truthfully. The seed that
Alright.
you water. You have a lot of desires. What desire are you going to
Well,
foster?
that's your inner world, right? Your desires.
No, yeah. Yeah, but when you say inner world, I think my spiritual life. But truthfully,
No,
it's
I
like,
said the thoughts, your thoughts.
people want to get good at business. They start to follow business people, and read books on business. And it's their meditation.
Mhm.
People are creative, get into creative writing, creative reading. People get fond of music. There's a whole bunch of people they follow. And in our spiritual life too. We water our spiritual life grows. And some of us have been growing that spiritual creeper for a very long time. And some of us are like at this crossroads, we're like, I need a spiritual life. I've neglected my spiritual life.
Well, I thought this was interesting on a few levels, but it's especially just this idea, the seriousness of where you bring your mind. I suppose I just kind of brought up just thinking, okay, your mind goes here, your mind goes there. It really doesn't matter. It's like you're kind of just in it for the moment. There's no long-term consequences to what I'm thinking about. It doesn't matter that I'm watching Gilligan's Island right now. Maybe it'll waste a half an hour, but that's it, right? But no, not according to the yogis, and not according to like modern neuroscience as well, right? Which is, it's clear, that the brain is like this plastic kind of thing. It changes based on what we repeatedly think. It's the connections are being made. Different channels of thought, are being created by how we think. So it's very much like an algorithm. And therefore, like every thought that we entertain is a seed, and it may be a seed of anxiety, it may be a seed of gratitude, a seed of envy, a seed of compassion. And you just start to give it more attention, and whatever it is that you're focusing on is going to grow. If it's gratitude, that's going to grow. If it's anxiety, that's going to grow, And so, our mind is like a big social media feed. I may do a course on this sometime, like an online
That's a
course.
great idea. That's a great way to look at it. It's like a big social media feed.
Yeah.
And if someone picks up your phone, they'll know exactly what you're following by once you go to the explore.
Do you do that, Raghunath? Do you pick up people's phones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See,
All
I
the
go to
time.
explore and see who they're looking at. Oh, I get it. You're
Like on
following
Instagram.
these type of people. And it's interesting. We live in such a world where, explore when I was a kid meant like I'm going to hike a mountain.
You're right.
I'm going to follow this creek back to its source.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now explore means like, I'm going to sit in the bathroom and just rub my thumb up and down my screen.
Right. Well, it's funny that you even that you express it that way, that you follow something back to the source, because that's what Subari Muni is going to do.
I
Right.
like how you took my thing and flipped it back into your thing.
Yeah, because he's like, where am I in life now, and how did I get here? Right. He was a yogi. We were talking about this the past 2 days, and we'll probably conclude his story today. He was an intense yogi. He was focused on deep inner spiritual work, and he got diverted. And now he's sitting there. He's got 50 beautiful wives, and we're gonna find out today. I think he's got like 100 kids from each one of them. So he's got like this major thing going on. But what was revealed yesterday was that he used that analogy of like if you have a lamp. Nowadays lamps are electrical, right? But if you had an oil lamp,
right,
and you're dripping fuel into it, dripping fat into it, like an oil lamp, you're dripping oil into it.
or you have a fire, say.
Okay, well, if you want to say fire,
Dripping,
you're dripping.
because you don't drip oil into a lamp. You just contains.
You
the
don't
oil.
drip it into a fire either.
Well, you do. You can. You drip it. You can drip it into fire. Little drop. The fire will keep on going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So in any case, whether it's a fire, whether it's a lamp, the lamp is what he used. That's the metaphor that he used. But if you keep dripping on it, you don't think like, oh, it's going to get a few more drips and it's going to be satisfied and the flame will go out. No, 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 no. The more you drip, the more it burns. And the more that we pursue our material desires, the more that we desire more. And that's an algorithm in itself. If you visit a thought once, the mind may take note. And if you do it twice, then it may say, oh, this is what you like to think about. I'm going to keep bringing this up for you. If you do it 3 times, then that algorithm in the mind, it's now suggesting this to you all the time without your permission, without you saying, this is what I want, without your following, like intentionally, I want to follow this, right? It's deciding for you.
I can tell how Krishna conscious a person is by going to their explore page.
All right.
Hmm?
Yes, you expressed that, Raghunath, already. I get it that you cut off on that.
Well, the interesting thing, and we said this the other day too, that it's all algorithms that lead you somewhere. So someone can argue, well, you're just doing the same thing. You're filling your mind with stuff, and it's dripping fuel on that stuff.
Yes,
like
exactly.
I see you're in your explore thing, and you're following this Krishna thing, or this chanting thing, or this kirtan thing, or this cooking and offering your food thing, or this pilgrimage thing. And that's what's going through your mind. And it doesn't end for you. You want more and more and more of it. And you got this book, and now you've collected this book and this series of books. And it's just like, it's addictive in another way. You're still purchasing books. You're still going places. You're not doing nothing. Yeah, it is addictive. Bhakti is addictive as well. But in that addiction, Krishna is luring us out of the material world, whereas the addictions of the material world implicate us in karma, implicate us in the glue trap of material existence. And I say glue trap, it means I step in it. Oh, can't get my foot out of that. I'm going to go pull my foot out. Then my hand gets caught. Then I try to yank the other hand in there. Then that hand gets caught. And the glue trap continues of material existence. And it leads us like exhausted. It leads us running, sprinting down long, windy, dead ends. So yeah, there is like a growth period, what we water, like down to that original takeaway you said. Yeah. And sometimes the seed of bhakti, though, because other things are very quick in my own addictive nature, which I can become really addicted to anything quick. Certain things can really be addictive, whereas certain things that are very good for me, like sitting peacefully and chanting with your phone in the other room and just chanting the holy name, that is actually addictive, but it's different. There's an incubation time in watering these seeds. Some seeds need to really grow deep roots before the fruits come up. And some
Spiritual life
eggs,
can be like that.
going back to birds, Mara, some eggs really need
sit
a
on that.
longer incubation time. So this spiritual thing that the Bhagavatam pushes, it may not be as sweet. And we might get a little sweetness, like, I need something spiritual. And then you read a verse or you go to a kirtan, you're like, this is good. But there will be like a dryness that goes with it. And that's when you got to push and push and push.
Don't
and
crack
let
the
that
egg.
Huh? You got to crack that egg.
No, you
Is that
got
a
to
little
incubate the
A
egg.
little beak comes out and start pecking away.
Push and push.
You
Just
never
keep it
think.
warm.
You never think it's in there. If you look at an egg, it's like, it's quite interesting little. It's a very fascinating looking thing. But I got something more fascinating for you. There's a little baby peacock in there, right? It's got that egg is going to turn into a tiny little baby bird.
I was just thinking that
unbelievable.
just that the body can create that shell is amazing. But what to speak of that it can create a little peacock inside it.
That's unbelievable.
Come on, man.
That's
Just admit it.
unbelievable.
There's a designer behind all
This
this.
is like a miracle.
Get over it. Yeah. All right. So in any case, yeah, whatever we water, this is the real thing. You know, whatever thoughts are there, they're seeds. They're going to grow. And we got to be real careful where we water it. We got a whole garden full of all kind of weeds that are just choking us down.
Yeah.
Tick knock nug.
What do you call that, Mara? When you're sitting on the egg? There's a name for that. I can't think right now. Brooding. When the hen just broods and sits there on that egg, and you can't bother her. She's just like sitting on that egg. Some eggs need a lot of brooding. Our spiritual life needs brooding.
Brooded.
Gotta sit there and let it warm it up.
So in any case, Subari Muni, he's gonna kind of he's saying, I was this really intense yogi. I was focused on a yogic path. And now here I am, like living like this life of full on material opulence and enjoyment. I got really diverted. Where did this begin? Let me trace this out.
Yeah.
You know, let's go back. Oh, it was those fish. I saw those fish.
The damn fish.
And that stimulated something inside me. It just rose up. But you know, the thing is, if he would have just said, oh, yeah, fish, whatever. He went back to that thought in his mind. He must have gone back many, many times, again and again and again. And then the mind just started pulling it up, because he watered it.
Mm.
And then it took over. You know, it grew so strong that he came out of the water and began to pursue material life in a big way with this idea. I'll find happiness through this. I'll find my happiness in the embrace of one woman. Right? Okay, 50 women, fine. I'll find my happiness in the embrace of 50 women.
60 woman. 60 women.
Make it 60.
It's even better.
I'll have kids. I'll have 100 kids with each one of them. He's a busy guy. You know?
You have one kid, you think you're satisfied. No. You're going to want more kids.
Yeah.
Like tattoos. They're just like addictive.
Tattoos. So he's thinking to himself about this, and he's saying, you know, I've enjoyed my senses like crazy, but still I'm not satisfied. Where did this start? I remember when I was a yogi, I kind of understood that material life doesn't deliver the promise of satisfaction. I need to start thinking like that again. He's going back. He's just like, if we want to improve our algorithm, adjust our algorithm, you got to go back. You got to go into your history. You know, you got to start to erase things and unfollow certain people or unfollow certain websites or what do they call, like on YouTube channels or Instagram, pages? What do you call it? Instagram accounts. You know, you have to like go back there, find them, root them out, you know, unfollow them. Then you got to start to follow the good stuff. You know, let me follow this one and let me follow that one. And that stuff's going to start to come up more. You have to be intentional about it. We can't just let our minds wander where they are. A yogi's being very intentional about where their mind goes.
Yeah.
The more that we do that, actually, the more that this life is going to become meaningful, you know, and wonderful. And if we just leave it to the mind to do its own thing, oh, man, it could send you down some crazy roads, Raghunath.
Yeah, it's confusing.
All right.
World is like a massive. You ever play one of those 2,000 piece puzzles and it's like
now you're
put this thing
locked in.
together. And sometimes if you're a puzzle person, like everything's green. Like or the sky is blue, and you've got 1,000 blue pieces that have to fit together. It's just like,
Are you talking about that?
Huh?
Why are you talking about that? The puzzle?
I can't remember. You said something that made me think like life is confusing and it's like a puzzle.
Okay. All right.
Just brought that into the picture.
Okay.
Just because we're sort of having a conversation, but I can't remember what you said. That got me there.
Puzzle. All right. Why don't we get
You
into
got
it?
any puzzle pieces in your life right now you feel like this doesn't belong in this puzzle? Ever have like just this doesn't even belong here? How is this here? You sort of jam it into where it's not supposed to be.
Mm.
This is what
You
some
find
of us are
yourself
going
there.
through.
Okay.
Sometimes, yeah. Okay.
Rhinum.
Rainam namaskrityanam chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam adirayat. Before reciting the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatammarandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chaksurunmadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 6. Text, Mara?
Text 49.
49, okay.
Yeah, so the last verse, 48.
Mara walked away from that microphone for a second, and I was like, yeah.
In 49, that's where he shared this life lesson, right? This thing that we were talking about yesterday, something you can keep with you, because it's so meaningful and important and applicable. It was that realization that no matter how much you feed your material desires, they're never satisfied. Feeding them simply makes it burn all the more. Okay, so he's got that figured out. And now text 49.
Thereafter, one day, Śaubhari Muni, who was expert in chanting mantras, was sitting in a secluded place. He thought to himself about the cause of his fall down.
Okay.
Fall down meaning he was like a complete renunciate, and now he's completely immersed in the material world, which was simply that he had associated himself with the sexual affairs of the fish.
The fish, okay.
He was
It
just
sounds silly,
watching
right?
those fish copulate. He was like,
Wow.
he must have went from like that to like that could be me.
Yeah, like there's enjoyment in this. There's
There's
deep,
enjoyment,
there's
there's
happiness in
feeling.
there.
That fish looks happy. What am I
Yeah.
doing here all alone underwater?
Even so the next 7 verses are going to describe how this great yogi Śaubhari, how he regained his sense after being diverted from his path to yoga. Right? He's in a sense he's a million miles away from where his life was. You know.
Yeah. Ever get in that place? I don't know if you have, but I have. You feel like I am
What
1
happened?
million miles away from where I wanted to be or where my plan was.
I think it's a common spiritual pattern that people go to on one
Yeah.
level or another. But yeah, that idea of like I'm a million miles away. That's the theme in Siddhartha, in the book Siddhartha, where
Yeah.
he was following strictly, and then he got a little idea. I need to engage in the world. I need to, if this is going to be real and authentic, and he just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and he became like the people. He had this discrimination when he was, in his younger part of his life. What are you doing, Raghunath? Are you watching a ping pong game here or something?
No, I'm thinking deeply, and I'm just shaking
you
my
sure?
head. I was like, of
You
the
sure you're not
different
watching a
times in my
tennis
life
game?
where I've just got like my train has derailed.
All right. But he ended up obviously he got involved with this prostitute, and then he got involved in order to maintain her. He got involved in like a whole business world as some kind of consultant, Then he got into gambling and meat eating, and it just went further and further. And then he became one of the people that he used to see in this whole with his clear discernment. You know,
Wait, who are you talking about? Ajamil?
no, Siddhartha.
Oh, Siddhartha.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't even have to go to Siddhartha, man. Why don't you just say, Raghunath, explain where you tripped, fell, and cracked your head open. I'll tell you my stories.
All
remember
right, I
being-
thought this was a relevant one, but I'm happy
It is
to
a relevant
nose
one,
into your
but we
life.
can keep it real, man.
No,
we
no,
can
no.
keep
I'm
it real. We
saying,
don't have to go to some fantasy story about Siddhartha.
well,
You just
it's
go
a
to my
meaningful
life.
one. Okay,
Huh?
if you wanted, it's a meaningful one. But let me just finish this one.
Okay, okay.
And we'll be I'll be thrilled to hear yours. Um,
Are you
but
thrilled?
yeah, but and of course it was at that point, that he had to go back and say, what happened to me? Where that's a profound moment. In one sense, we're all there as we've all wandered very, 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 very far. There's that beautiful passage in the fourth canto where the allegory of King Perunjan is there, and King Perunjan takes birth as a woman in his next life,
Yeah.
and he's burning. She now is burning her husband's body on the funeral pyre, and the
Yeah.
Paramatma comes, God within the heart comes and says, "Do you remember me? You and I have been friends, for a very, very, very long time, but we're both very far from our home." And okay, in one sense that's depressing. In another sense, that's the light opening up again, right? That moment,
Sure.
like, how did I get here?
Isn't that interesting? Like lifetimes might go by, and then that little voice comes out.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
yeah, yeah. You got to get to a certain
Look at
point where you're ready
yourself.
to hear it.
Yeah.
The analogy of the
Or
two
you
birds.
just got to do some like time in the material world.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
So the
you hit
material world's just got to pound you down and pound you and
exactly.
grind you.
We there's that analogy of the two birds sitting on the tree, and one is that Paramatma that's always ready to speak to us, and other birds trying to taste the fruits. But Johannes here, he wrote on the chat board today, two birds in a tree, and one of them has virtual reality goggles on. That's more like that, right? It's like you're gonna have to take those goggles off, and the other bird's right there ready to speak to you. So let me hear about you, Raghunath, how the Lord
Oh, it's
spoke
just,
in your heart.
it's just like existence. I'm not even beating myself up for it. I went from like pretty much a single guy, just doing yoga and jujitsu all day long, all week, making some money, go on tour, nothing, no responsibilities in the world. Then I got married, and
Oh, but even
my wife
before
had
that,
2
you were
kids.
like engaged in full-on devotional service. That's where we got to start, right?
Well, yeah, it was into bhakti, but I'm just saying, got married, had 2 step kids that I raised, moved to New York City, teaching yoga full time. And he's like, I'm a cat person. She had a dog.
This cat dog thing really is.
Well, in New York, it's even worse. The dog thing now is like not so big. Gus just goes outside. But in New York, you have a dog in New York. Dog
slave.
owners, I know you love your dogs. I get it. You're following that dog, and I'm trying. You have little babies. Then I had 2 little babies, and it's just like you really just want that time, that you cherish that time
Oh,
when
yeah.
you had a moment where you could sit and meditate, sit and chant in peace. When you have little babies, that peace just isn't in there. You got to wake up at all hours of the night to take care of your kids. What to speak of if you have a puppy? What to speak of if you have a puppy and toddlers in New York City? So I had 4 kids in New York City and a puppy. And I tell you, I
4
had to
kids and
walk,
a
and I
puppy.
somehow got corralled. And people who are not dog people, but their partner's a dog person, and they get corralled into the dog thing.
You resented. You resented.
I was
no end.
walking that dog trying to chant japa, walking the dog trying to chant, and then of course the dog goes to the bathroom. I remember
Pick it up.
exactly that moment when I had my japa bead in one hand. I had to hold
Oh,
the dog
one of those
in the
little
leash
green
with the japa
baggies.
hand, and I had to pick up the stool of the dog with the other hand in a plastic bag. And I just raised my hands in the sky and said, God, how did I get here? I'm holding the dog. Even the dog is like, what? Just drop them. Why are you carrying my poop around? Are you crazy?
Well, we can imagine Subari Muni, right? And our mind immediately goes to, whoa, he's got 50 beautiful women. My God, this guy's living the life. You know, like
Yeah, people watch me. Look at this guy, this beautiful dog, waking up early, meditating.
well, maybe I'm not sure if people go there, but but you know, like, oh my God, he's living the life. This is like, but you know, imagine all of that compromise, to the extent that he was enjoying, to that extent we could imagine he was having those "how did I get here" moments. You know, how did I get here? How did I get here? How did I get here? Yeah, I enjoyed this, and then that enjoyment goes away, and then now I'm trying to deal with the consequences of it, and what I'm enjoying, the thrill of that is starting to go away, you know, and so now I'm just kind of left with this life where I complicated my life, and the thrill that I was following to get here is decreasing. So now I don't have the thrill and I have the complication. How did I get here? You know, how did I get here? So he's feeling that profoundly right now, and he's going to trace it back. He's traced it back to it was the fish.
It was that damn fish.
But you know what they say, right? Dhyato vishaya pungsang.
Yeah, meditate on fish, act like a fish.
But yeah, you know, but by that
Yes.
wherever the mind may wander, you know, it comes to a certain thought, we develop an attachment for it, right?
From such attachment, lust arises.
From
Don't
lust.
fulfill your lust, krodha, anger arises.
Yeah,
Okay,
he probably got angry sometimes too.
let's dive in.
All right.
Text 49, text 50.
50.
Alas, while
Is
practicing
that what you said at that moment when you had that bag
I
of
did. I
dog
held
poop
that
in your hand?
dog
Alas!
dung in the air, and I said, alas, alas, while practicing austerity, even within the depths of the water,
Right?
and while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons,
Mm-hmm.
I lost the result of my long austerities simply by the association with the sexual affairs of a fish.
He's watered that seed, though, you know, he watered it.
Yes.
Now, listen to this. This is humble right here.
Everyone should observe this fall down and learn from it. This is a lesson for the future.
Look at me, people. Look at my life.
Look what I've
Learn
done.
from
That was
learn
me
from my mistakes.
walking in the West Village, New
Learn,
York City,
everybody.
with a bag of dog crap.
Learn from
Learn,
me.
learn my lesson. And you know that it is a learning of even the frustration when we're on a spiritual path and we're just like frustrated with existence. That's all the sandpaper of material life. It's almost like the sandpaper in God's hand, just like grooming us. You know, you see a beautiful piece of furniture, everything's been sanded down, lathed perfectly, you know, polished, oiled, polished. And so the whole material world is designed just to do finer grades of sandpaper to even out our edges. And it's all growth. It's all
That's right. With
like
the
we
right
said.
attitude, it all becomes growth. You know, in text 49, there's a nice kind of poetic line there. It says, Atmapanavam Atmanaha. Atmapavana means the cause of my being cheated out of the bliss of the self. Atmapavanam Atmanaha. I caused it myself. All right? I am the cause. That's important, right? He's not blaming anybody else. He's saying, I watered a seed in my mind. I cheated myself out of being happy in life.
Yeah.
You know, that's key. All right.
Yeah. A person desiring liberation, this text 51, from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on.
And let's be clear. When it says a person interested in sex, it doesn't mean you're like your OBYGN or something, you know, or like, you know, it means someone who's interested in it as the cause of happiness. This is where I will find happiness. This is the key to happiness, right?
Look
like
at
that
me
kind of
and
interest.
who's here on Zoom today? Me and the chief. When I see that chief, we're not like two two guys getting around talking about, did he check her out? Did he check her out? You know, look at her. She's hot. We don't talk like that. When I say the
Right.
chief, we're talking about transcendental subject matters.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes the focus of your conversation. There was a time in my life where I would talk about girls or, you know, the opposite sex. But when that's your focus and that's what you want, that's where your consciousness goes. And is it evil? No. Bhagavad Gita is so nice like that. It's not, there's no judgment there. It's just going to say, if you do A, you're going to get this result. If you do B, you get this result. So if that's your focus, that's okay. You're going to be more immersed in the body as the self. And to enjoy this body is going to be the goal of life. And you got to run as fast as you can down this dead end. And when this body doesn't satisfy you, move along to the next body and keep running. And she was not my soulmate. He was not my soulmate. I'm just going to keep running and running and running down this dead end. And hopefully, if there's a little bit of intelligence, say, I'm going to settle with one person, and then I'm going to have a peaceful existence. And even that in Bhakti Yoga, we say, okay, but don't make that person your God.
Yeah.
Don't make that person your God. Make that person walk hand in hand with you towards God.
There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, if that's your focus, like how can I, enjoy material sense gratification?
Okay, so let's continue 51. One should always.
One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged.
Okay.
So yeah, and secluded doesn't necessarily mean, especially within Bhakti Yoga, it doesn't necessarily mean you're secluded and isolated. You have no community, you have no family, you have not like that at all. It's
it seems like he's inclined to that kind of practice, but he's saying, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can associate with people that are similarly engaged as you.
I'm staying with this wonderful family right now. And Madhurika, the lady I'm staying with, yesterday, I was like, what are you doing tonight? She's like, oh, I'm going to this ladies kirtan group. I was like,
All right.
It's every week. Yeah, we do like choirs and singing together and go through different songs. I was like, that's nice. And then last night, I was like, what are you doing tonight? She's like, oh, I'm going to this ladies reading group. It's just like,
thing going on.
It's just like, it's like you don't, sometimes when you hear about yogic life, and it's almost and sometimes we're so absorbed in material existence, in the workplace, we think, you know what? I want to live in a cave. I want to go into the forest. I want to become a hermit. Sometimes you see, at least on my feed, on my Explore page, there's like a cabin in the middle of the thousands of acres. And you're like, some people think real wealth is this, but this is real wealth. Isolation. and it makes all these people are like into like the outdoors saying, yeah, this is what I want. I'm sick of people. I just want to be isolated. No, you don't have to be isolated. There might be a time for some isolation and inward thought, but actually, isolation can wreck certain people's life unless they've actually transformed their mind. Because then you're bringing your mind to isolation. That can be dangerous. But
Very dangerous.
we say community brings the mind higher. And here it says, associate persons similarly engaged.
Right.
Spiritualists, people are on a path because we may be pretty strong 95% of the time, but there's 5% of the time where your mind can take you to dark places. And sometimes when we go to dark places, it's not like we walk down a step. It's like we trip down the flight of stairs.
Okay. How did I get here? Alas,
I'm at the bottom of the steps. What do you think about that, Mara?
give me a nod.
She's always got, she's a woman of few words. Yeah. Even on a podcast, she's like nods.
All right, a few more verses, Raghunath. We can wrap this up. today.
Śaubhari Muni. In the beginning, I was alone. Wait, did I miss something?
No,
A person desiring liberation must give up. Wait, let me just write
No,
this.
in the beginning.
52. In the beginning, I was alone and engaged in performing austerities of mystic yoga. But later, because of the association of fish engaged in sex, I decided to marry. It's a very common thing.
Yeah,
Going to the aquarium. I go to the aquarium. I'm like, I got to get married right now. Then I became the husband of 50 wives, and each one of them I begot 100 sons. What? And thus my family increased to 5,000 members. Don't even try to think this one out, people. By the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen and thought that I would be happy in material life. Thus, there is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life and the next.
Okay. He thought it would give him happiness. Now he realizes he's caught in these loops, and it's not delivering the happiness he thought.
In the net of material existence.
Yeah. In this way.
In this way, he passed his life in household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from material enjoyment. To renounce material association, he accepted Vanaprast order. That's the forest dweller, and went to the forest. His devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband.
Okay, so I'm going to walk away from it now.
Yeah.
The wives are saying, well, you're a husband, so we're going with you. He's like, you can come with me, but we're going to be living a different life now. You know, it's no longer a life of material enjoyment. I'm turning back.
This is when the kids get a little older.
If you want to go back with me, then we'll go back together.
Yeah.
But I'm turning back now.
When Śaubhari Muni, I've got a few more years before I'm there. You're sort of there now. 'Cause you never had kids. You never had kids, so you're like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
sort
it
of like
simplifies it.
you're going forest. I've still got an 11-year-old, but I can feel that itch. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the forest.
Instead of the arcade.
Right now the arcade. I got the kids. Got to go to the arcade. I got a high score on the Monster Mash Williams pinball machine last night. I've impressed Henry. When Subari Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penance.
Okay. He got back into it.
In this way, in the fire at that great time, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay.
So he was in meditation on the personality of Godhead, not just a mystical, underwater meditator.
No doubt. And Prabhupada, he explains this nice in the commentary. He says, at the time of death, fire burns the gross body. And he says this, and if there's no more desire, here's like a key, how to break the cycle. If there's no more desire for material enjoyment, the subtle body is also ended. So it's like when we die, the physical body for all of us, that's going to be burnt up. It's going to be gone. But that mental body with its desires travels with us. And Prabhupada's saying, but if you have no more material desire left in your subtle body, in your mind, then that ends too. And you become free from both engagements. So if there's no more desire for material enjoyment in the subtle body, then the subtle body is also ended. And in this way, a pure soul remains. It's just you left. You're free. You broke. You broke free, and that's what he he was meditating originally, and he saw the fish. He had desire still inside, and it brought it out. He came out. He indulged deeply in material sense gratification. He had a deeper realization. I've been thinking about this lately.
What have you been thinking about?
What's the Krishna consciousness movement was this movement that, it began in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the leaders of that movement, they took sannyas at an early age.
Yeah.
They were really admirable people that they said, I'll just take my whole life and give it.
Yeah.
And so externally, they were very selfless in their surrender like that. But that doesn't necessarily take care of the inner world. And so many of those young men had difficulties that they still had desires for intimacy. They still had desires for, the warmth of a woman's embrace and the comforts
Snuggling.
of the home and the
Snuggling.
They wanted to snuggle, perhaps. And so in one sense, you often express this, but there's no need to blame them or or that. But nowadays, I think as an institution, the men are generally doing it at a later stage of life. And if someone does it after having been married and enjoyed that life, and had a chance to think about it and reflect on it deeply, then they're in a much better place when they're like 60 or 65 years old, or 55, whatever, to just say they're not going to be so vulnerable. Subari Muni just saw a couple fish, right? And it totally threw him off. Whereas at this point, he's lived it. He's got deeper realizations, and nothing's diverting him anymore. It's that promise. It's like when he might have seen fish again, but like it didn't confuse him in the same way. Oh, there is happiness there. He's like, no, I've done this. I know what it is. He's genuinely detached.
Mm.
Right. He's genuinely detached. And so there is something to that, to those, passing through the various stages of life, and it's natural that then you've lived that married life. You're ready to let go of it. You're ready to let go of it. And so he's very ready at this point. And then this last verse speaks to the idea that perhaps his wives were not as, perhaps they didn't have his ability for austerity, his jnana, maybe the depth of his knowledge.
Mm.
But what they did have was faith in him.
Mm.
And by holding on to him, they achieve the same destination as he achieves. Right? Because there's that commitment together. You and I are on this path together. And he's kind of like, he seems to have that kind of, obviously he's like a powerful practitioner. And so they may not have that same power of practice, but they have faith in him, they're devoted to him, and they get the same result as him.
All right. Should we finish this?
Yeah, one more verse.
O Maharaj Parikshit, by observing their husband, progressing in spiritual existence, Subari Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his, spiritual power, just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. Yeah, it's almost, it can be depressing to know that if you were just to take your life, your mind body would still be there. It's like, I really can't escape myself, can I? Nope, you can't. You really got to work through it. You got to work through your stuff. Mara, do we have any good takeaways? I know we're running late. And
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. How are you?
Hey,
How are you, Mara? Good show
An
today
arcade.
For you? Good for
An
you?
arcade. What's that?
Good for you today?
Yeah, it's a good show.
Okay.
An arcade is another layer of Maya.
Double decker.
Double decker.
Yeah.
Double
How often am I searching for another virtual reality?
All the time.
All the time.
Movie, amusement park, or wherever, arcade.
Squirrel suits, jumping,
Fantasy.
parachuting,
Squirrel
skiing,
suits. Very popular.
skiing adventures.
What you focus on grows, whether it's anxiety or gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mara.
It's a seed and you water it.
Our mind is like a social media algorithm.
Yep. Keeps pumping up more of what you choose, what you click on.
Yeah. What are you clicking on? That's the question. What are you clicking on? What are you following?
What's your explore page?
What's on your explore page?
The more we pursue material desires, the more we desire.
That's right.
Yeah.
In our bhakti addiction, Krishna is luring us out of the material world.
I like that thought. Come on, here. He's like, here, boy. Come on, follow me. Back to the spiritual world. Come on. Don't be dumb. Nope, this way.
The material world is different grades of sandpaper for our growth.
Oh, sanding. Sometimes I get the heavy grit one.
Rough stuff.
The rough stuff.
Good association elevates our consciousness.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
Give up desire for material enjoyment to break free of the subtle body.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And learn from my mistakes, carrying dog poop and meditating on the sex life of fish.
Alas.
Alas. beware of sexy fish. That's your takeaway today. You woke up early for that little message. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Now look, we don't have Corona here, but we have little Midori here.
Midori's here.
Midori,
Filling in for Corona.
yeah.
I'm going to the Springs today, my friend.
No,
Have you ever been to the Springs?
never. I've heard about them
Oh
for
my
the past
God.
40 years, but I've never been there.
Florida is famous for beautiful springs. Looking forward to it, everybody. Hey, if you want to check out what's going on at Super Soul Farm this year, go to my website, raghunath.yoga, and go to the Super Soul tab. And it gives a whole list of stuff we're doing. I didn't have time to perfectly get every detail in there. How to register for everything, but you can email Mayor or me. Or
I
direct
think we'll
message
open up
me.
registration on the Wisdom of the Sages website. Maybe the end of the week.
Okay. And thanks everybody for joining us early in the morning. You know, I got a tricky morning tomorrow because I think I have to drive my daughter to Jacksonville, so I might have to do the show from a car,
One of those.
which is always fun. But yeah, and today, guess what we're doing right now? Guess what we're doing right now? I got a big day today. I am
Going
taking.
on a flying machine?
I'm going on the. I'm not going to go on the flying machine, but my 11-year-old
Gotcha.
and my daughter are going on the flying machine with Namamrita, who is Yogeshwar's son. He's got a flying machine, and it's like 5 minutes from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. This thing goes up in the air. I'm either father of the year or you should call Child Protective Services on me, but my kids are about to fly around Alachua in like a
Well,
giant.
he's a
thing.
pilot, right?
He's a pilot. He must know how to do these things.
Yeah.
These guys are like sailors too. He's like, well, you got to get there pretty early because the winds pick up around 9, and I can tell it's coming off the coast and stuff like that. They're like old world sailors. But I'm gonna
Knots.
go because there is a flying machine.
Oh, you see now, Mara, now he wants to
Yeah,
run.
now
right?
he wants to leave.
Yesterday,
It's
he
not,
was
I'm,
just
not, I'm doing it
He
yakking
for the
and
kids.
doesn't
yakking.
care what you have going on to
I'm
make a
doing it for the
scuba.
kids. I'm in the glue trap right now. The glue trap of flying machines. You know
All right.
me, I'd be happy just sitting in peace and meditation right now, but
Of course.
things must be done. This is what I'm going through in this time of my life. All right, guys.
Alas.
Beautiful day for a beautiful day. Woo! Let the magic continue to flow. Maha Haribo.